Hi everybody, Vanquished Angel here, and today's video is going to be my coming out story, my coming out as gay. The reason why I decided to do this video is because every once in a while I get a post on one of my videos that says, "Hey, you're gay, man, you're a faggot," or something, and you know what? I am. And I'll explain me saying that here in just a little bit. But, I'll explain it now. I am a little bit older than most of these gay people that have come out. Now, there are older ones than me, but I'm from a time when it wasn't quite as safe as it is today. And so, people being out underage here to me is weird. You know, I'm glad they're that comfortable. But one of the things that I would do when somebody would call me a faggot is say yes. That's exactly what I am. I know exactly what I am. Yes. And the reason why I would do that is because it takes that power away from them. They don't have that power to put such a word on me. I'm not caring. And you would be shocked at how people reacted to that. Like I would say, yeah, I'm perfectly aware. Thanks for pointing that out, Captain Obvious. You know? And then they'd be like, well, as long as you know. You know, like, they had nothing. So that's the reason why I would do that. So I decided, in light of those comments on my video, because people make those comments online because they're actually cowards. They can't actually do it to someone's face usually. So, and of course online they'll claim they do, but the reality is they don't. And it's because they're cowards. But that aside, I'm going to go with my coming out story. And so, being a person in my situation and the abuses that I suffered, my parents feared that me and my brother might be gay due to the abuses we suffered. Well, that's not exactly how it works, but that's how it was thought of back then. And so we were preached to that being gay is evil. My parents never did, they kind of, like most Christians, they claim to follow the Bible, but they really didn't, you know? And so They pick and choose and cherry-picked what they wanted while ignoring the rest, swearing like sailors, smoking cigarettes, you know, drinking, doing those things, you know, that, whatever. Like most Christians, they don't actually follow it themselves. But they will cherry-pick certain things, and that's one of the things they cherry-picked. And so, we did hear about it, and I did show some things that would be considered signs. Like, I used to sneak into my mother's nail polish and paint my nails and things like that. And, and then she would ask me why I would do that, and I would tell her because I wanted to be a girl. And then she'd ask why I wanted to be a girl, and I said because girls just have an easier life. Well, then she corrected me on that, being the feminist she was. At the time, or her version of feminism. And but I did start to realize this in puberty and coming out. Like, I wasn't fantasizing about women, I was fantasizing about men. And I thought that maybe I could correct this myself by correcting my fantasies and forcing myself to fantasize about women and being very just mentally hard on myself and praying and pray the gay away and all this other stuff. And these fantasies just kept coming back. And I thought maybe I could fix it that way myself. And I wasn't in a safe spot to talk to anybody about this or anything else. And, but I did try, to do it this way. And I was in the closet for a long time, and I dated girls, and I figured maybe if I dated or had sex with girls that this urge would go away, what was wrong with me would go away, and stop fantasizing about it. And it's kind of the way I dealt with it for the longest time. And a lot of other people picked up that I might be gay. My voice is it naturally. I'm not talking higher. I'm not going to talk lower. My voice is where it is naturally. And quite frankly, I don't care. And if you have a problem with it, that's a problem with you, not with me. You need to check your own values at that point. But a lot of people picked up that I was gay, and so they would react to me, and it wasn't always the safest situation. And so I stayed in the closet for a while, and I distinctly remember one incident in my head where I just moved out on my own, and I didn't realize there was a gay bar just downtown. So I was walking around, and it's near the mall area, and of my little small town. And I was walking in the mall, because back then the mall was cool and malls were lively back then. Excuse me, sorry. I don't know why I get like that when I'm on camera, but I do. And my throat's bothering me for some reason. I think it's because that movie theater butter popcorn gets to me. And I watched a movie yesterday. And of course I had the biggest tub of popcorn. But, so I was walking through there, and I heard these boys, gay men, make a comment on me like, "Holy fucking balls, did you see him?" And like, and other comments that they were making, and other things like making a comment about how hot I was and something. So and this like 20 years ago. So I went and hid behind a house because I didn't know how to react. And everybody's like, would typically think, oh, you hid because it was wrong and you didn't want to be looked at. No, that's not why I hid. I hid because I was afraid that it would bring out the gay in me. And I was afraid of what was me being gay and me actually liking it and accepting it. I hid because I was trying to get myself to be straight. That's why I hid. And so I left there, and I finished walking home, and very little mention of it. Once in a while I would repeat the story, but not often. And so, years later I went into the military, well, maybe a year or two later, and I served in the military, and I married a woman with 2 children. And don't get me wrong, I loved her as a friend. I wasn't in love with her. I mean, she's a good person, she's a beautiful person, and I love the children. They were my children. That's just, I did. But I wasn't in love with her, and the anger between me and her started to build up after we got married, and we were living together, and it was coming to a head is what it was. And I tried to hide my sexuality as best as possible, but I do think she eventually figured it out on her own. I would watch, back then a TV show just started called Queer as Folk, and a lot of times I couldn't sleep at night, so I'd be up and I would watch that show. And I started to come to terms with the fact that I'm gay. And that show was like, God, these people, they just look so comfortable being who they are. And I realized that a lot of them are the best role models in there, but I was like, man, just to love and accept myself for that easy. And it was what it made it seem in the show. I mean, it seemed like it was just such a world of difference. And not to mention I was having problems being in the military anyway. And so what ended up happening was I eventually needed to take some time away from the kids and my wife. And every once in a while on the weekends I would go to a restaurant, and actually I would talk to this retired military person, and we'd have conversations. And so I actually kind of did it to keep them some company, this older person, and talk with them a little bit. And they were pretty cool. And I felt like I was giving back to them for serving my country and me. And just, it's like spending some time with grandma or grandpa. It's keeping them, happy and just doing something for them. And so, but every once in a while I wouldn't go to the restaurant. I started actually going to the porn shop. And eventually it started trying to get these thoughts out of my head, I'm going to watch porn, But eventually I started leaning towards gay porn. And thinking, why? What is wrong with consensual adults? People would be like, God, like, I don't really think God cares, honestly. But whatever. I think people pick and choose from the Bible what fits their narrative and push aside what does not. And that's common of a lot of churchgoers. Like a lot of them, for instance, don't even acknowledge the fact that the Bible says that the church is going to be misled. People are going to be lied to, and almost everybody's going to be fooled. So if they believe the end times are now, they also believe that their preacher is lying to them. The Bible doesn't say all except for this one church somewhere. It says a handful of people spread out. It's pretty specific about that. And I tend to call them out on that. Like, oh, well, yeah, it also says don't pray in churches, And But, again, they pick and choose what they want to listen to, what fits their narrative. And so I would go to this porn shop and then I would watch gay porn. But then this porn shop was pretty peculiar, and I didn't realize this when I first started going there. It had like a cubicle you'd go in to watch. The cubicles were actually fairly large. And then they had a window in between other cubicles, and you could hit a button and the window to the next one would open. I'm like, oh, whatever, just keep it closed. And that's what I would do. Didn't really dawn on me as to its purpose, as I was pretty daft. And then once in a while I would hear things on the walls and stuff, and it didn't faze me too much at all. And so the one time I was there, I was just kind of putzing around watching gay porn, and this man came in the door. And he was a little bit older, but not too much. And that was my first sexual experience consensually with another man. And yeah, I mean, it hurt, and I thought, I'm never going to do this again afterwards. He was kind enough. He gave me a tissue and said thanks. But I left there and I was like, I'm never doing that again. That's never going to happen again. I'm done with this. And I said if I ever cheated on my wife again, that I would tell her. But I don't have to worry about it because this is never going to happen again. And so I went home and I acted like nothing happened. And just went about my day. And so about a month later, I started thinking about it again. And I actually went to the porn shop and I did it again. So I'm here, and then I thought, nope, I promised I would tell my wife. I'm going to tell her. And I started to think about our situation and that we're out here away from her family. She has nowhere to go. She doesn't have anybody to really talk to. I can't tell her here. And then I said, I'm having sex with strange people, and I can't do this to her. I could get some sort of STD, and I could bring it home. And so I have to tell her because I put her in danger. And not only that, but, this isn't a good thing to be around for the kids either. And so, not being gay, but, me having these extramarital things with strange people. And so I made myself a promise not to do it again until we are divorced or separated, and that I will tell her, but I have to get her home first. And the first thing that I have to do is deal with what's going on between me and the military. And so I was talking with my sergeant, and things weren't, I had an injury, the war started, 9/11 happened, and I had medical issues that were causing problems with me going to war. I volunteered to go. That sounds kind of weird, but my take on it was, if I'm going to war, I'm going with my friends. I want to be with my friends. I don't want to go to war, but I'm going to be there with my soldiers. These are the people I trained with. I will have their back. I want to be there for them. I don't care if they have my back or not. I want to be there for them. So I wanted to go. I was blocked from going. And that never ever did sit well with me, and it still doesn't today. As a matter of fact, I flip off on people once in a while sometimes when they talk about soldiers and going to war. Especially electing a president that ran. But that's a different video. So I had to finish what was going on with me in the military, and I had to get her and the kids to a safe spot so she wouldn't freak out, or even if she did, she had at least family to go to. So we ended up coming back home to where we were from, and we stayed with my parents for a while. That wasn't a comfortable situation, and eventually I came out to my mother. My mother did not like my wife. They hated each other, actually. They fought like cats and dogs, just kind of in a more silent sort of way, like little pokes. And but we made things work, and eventually my mom kind of flipped out at me. And I told her, don't worry, I'm handling things. She's not going to be around for a whole lot longer. And then I did what every big brother should do that has a younger brother that's gay. that isn't out, I threw him completely under the bus. And then I came out after I threw him out. So I had him come out, and then I came out. Which is probably a pretty cowardly thing to do. But basically I told my mother not to worry about my wife because she's not going to be around. This is what happened. I cheated on her. I'm going to tell her because I believe I should tell her. Not only that, but it was with strange people, so I need to go get a test done to make sure that I have no STDs or anything else. And I don't, I'm free. But, and then I had to tell her eventually, and I said, I'm working things out, I gotta get her a place to go. So we saved up money, and I paid for a house for her to live in, rent. First month's security deposit, next month's rent. And I couldn't give her any much more time than that because we were in such a small town and jobs weren't available. So I had to work as a waiter, and I made money, and I saved it and put her and the kids up. And she got a job when she got back to the city she was from. And we were packed up, and we were in the U-Haul, and that's when I came out to my wife. That's when I told her. And I said, which I don't know, a lot of you could consider that a crappy thing to do. It might be. It might have been because, it was right as we were leaving. She didn't really have time to say to me what she needed to say to me, but I felt that it was best because she was in a bad situation. She had to deal with my mom, and I didn't want her to have that, with me, the time that she had to deal with my parents. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I chose that time. So she went to where she was from by herself, and then I had to kind of deal with my parents. That was okay. They're not really accepting of it. They kind of flipped out because both me and my brother are gay. And so they didn't deal with it really well. And even up until my mom passed, she still did not deal with it well at all. She pretty much doesn't like anybody I dated, straight or gay. It doesn't matter. They were never good enough. So, my stepfather is more accepting of it than she was, and I don't even know if he does at all. So, but he doesn't act like he's not accepting. So, that's kind of my coming out story. The military had a little bit to do with that more than what I said. There was points and times, I think, part of my issues in the military, too, were because my sergeant figured it out. I think a soldier told on me, because I think they were at the porn shop, too. And I didn't recognize them, but they might have recognized me. And my sergeant said to me once, while he was yelling at me for something, he took me into the office and he said, "Now I can't ask you, and I don't think you're going to tell me, but is there something you want to tell me?" And I said, "No, sir." So I think he knew. I think it got out while I was in the military, and that's some of the reason why some of them caused me problems. Other than that, so now we're to today, and I still didn't come out to everybody. My friends, maybe one or two, but pretty much just my family knew. And so I had met this boy, and I still wasn't out publicly. And he was my first actual boyfriend, and it was an abusive relationship. Very physically and mentally and emotionally abusive. And but it took me a while to come out with the people. I mean, I got a job in the town we were in. It took me a while to come out, and eventually when I did, everybody's like, "Oh, we all knew." But so I had a lot of support. All right. Well, that's my story. Hopefully that helps someone out there. Have a good day.